Alright guys, so there's a ton of heroes in World of Warcraft. We all know them. Thrall and Jaina and King Varian and Vol'jin. You get the idea. But there are plenty of other side heroes in the game as well that really don't get their proper moment of spotlight for who they are. And today, we're going to count those down. So this is the top 10 unsung heroes of World of Warcraft. Number 10. Master FORTESKI, the Horseman. So, who is this guy, you might be asking? Master FORTESKI was a Forsaken NPC in the revamped version of Silverpine Forest. Emphasis on the word was. You see, during the questline in the zone, you come into the information that Ivar Bloodfang is going to be holding a meeting in the Deep Elm Mine. So, of course, Sylvanas sends you and a task force to assassinate him, led by FORTESKI himself. You and your team of Forsaken troopers enter the mine, but upon reaching the back, you see it's filled with explosives. Ivar Bloodfang then shows up, throws a bomb at your team's feet, and at the last second, just before you're about to be blown to bits, Master FORTESKI pushes you out of the way of the explosion, saving your life at the cost of his own. I don't know why, but this quest just kind of struck a feel in me. I kind of miss Master FORTESKI. He saved me. I guess the whole zone just really gets you into this power to the Forsaken mood, and to see a trap sprung on you and your people, and then have your life saved, it's just pretty cool. Number 9. Captain Joseph Redpath of DARROWSHIRE. In the Eastern Plaguelands, you can find the remains of DARROWSHIRE, a village that came under attack by the Scourge during the events of the Third War. Now this place is known for its questline involving Pamela Redpath, and how you're helping her find her doll before being sent out to meet what remains of her family. Throughout this questline, you'll learn about a man named Joseph Redpath, Pamela's father, and how he fought bravely to defend DARROWSHIRE, all before becoming corrupted by the Scourge. Ultimately, he ends up helping to destroy the village he fought so hard to protect. I guess what makes this story stand out to so many players around the world is that you have a daughter looking for her father, and you ultimately learn that he died to protect her, then became the evil that ultimately led to her death. You as a player get to experience the battle for DARROWSHIRE, and it's a pretty cool event when you get to see the redeemed spirit of Joseph return to his ghostly daughter before they go to be at peace with one another. Number 8. BAINE BLOODHOOF. Now, let's be honest. In a personal duel of coolness between CAIRNE and his son BAINE, most people would probably choose CAIRNE. He was in Warcraft 3, he was a total badass, and he had a super deep bromance with Thrall. But this doesn't mean his son can't be a bit awesome as well. BAINE BLOODHOOF had a lot of pieces to pick up when his father was killed by Garrosh and Magatha Grimtotem, so credit where credit is due. On one hand, your capital city has just been attacked, your war chief is the man who killed your father, you disagree with everything he says, but you know if you speak out it could mean the end of your people, and well, yeah, times are pretty tough. In the book Tides of Darkness, BAINE made it very clear that he didn't even support the attacking of Theramore, but did he have a choice? Not really. Burden of leadership, man, burden of leadership. I feel for the guy when I think about it. Here you have this huge legacy to live up to in the form of his father, and even though, at least in my opinion, he's doing so, BAINE just sort of gets pushed under the rug as a, But you know what? I care. I'll sing your praises, BAINE BLOODHOOF, 'cause nobody else will. Number 7. NOBUNDO, NOBUNDO, NOBUNDO. But who is he? You might be wondering. Okay, so NOBUNDO is the first Draenei shaman, and his journey can be read about in the short story Unbroken if you'd like to look it up. But if you're too lazy to read, come on, let me sum up the story like this. NOBUNDO was once a vindicator of the Draenei, and he was one of the people who volunteered to stay behind and die in the Battle of Shattrath to aid in convincing the orcs that the Draenei had been wiped out. However, Well, he ultimately survived the battle, but he had a lot of scars he carried with him from it. Although he was a paladin, he could no longer use the holy light, and he slowly became what the Draenei refer to as a broken. While others who were afflicted with this fate either fell to madness or were committing suicide, Nobundo carried on, because he was determined to find a way to reconnect himself with the light and be purified of his curse. But the thing is, the light never answered him. The elements did. The elements on Draenor. Nobundo is one of my personal favorite characters because he's more of a internal conflict character. Sure, there are plenty of great heroes of Warcraft who have fought in great battles and wars, but none of that means anything if a person can't overcome themselves first. Number 6. Shandris FEATHERMOON. Now, Shandris is a character you might not be too familiar with unless you've delved into the World of Warcraft novels, but she can be found in-game at Feathermoon Stronghold in Feralis. Now, for those of you that don't know, Shandris is the general of the Night Elf Sentinels, and is Tyrande Whisperwind's most loyal warrior. When we first see Shandris in the War of the Ancients books, she's young, 16, her entire family has been killed by the Burning Legion, and she has nothing left. That is, until she met Tyrande. Upon meeting the priestess, Shandris becomes extremely fond of her, and Tyrande, seeing potential in this young woman, took Shandris underneath her wing. Shandris went from being a scared girl to a fierce warrior as her story progressed, taking part in the War of the Ancients, the War of the Satyr, and even the Third War when the Burning Legion returned. Over the years, she learned the leaderships and the disciplines that made her the General Shandris FEATHERMOON we know her as today, one of the characters that stands in the way of anybody who would dare to harm the Wood Realms of Kalimdor. Number 5. LILIAN VOSS. Now, not every hero needs to wield the light, wear fine clothes, and talk warmly. Lilian Voss is an anti-hero, but at least to me, she is a hero nonetheless. She was a woman born into the Scarlet Crusade who threw away her childhood for the sake of her father in order to learn magic, fighting, and a whole lot more. However, her studies didn't save her from the ultimate fate of death during the Third War and the Scourging of Lordaeron. During the events of the Cataclysm, Lilian was one of the Forsaken brought back to life by Sylvanas' Valkyr, and rather than embracing her on death, she denied it, running off to be never seen again. Or did she? You see, Lilian was ultimately captured by the Scarlet Crusade, and she asked that her father be told that she was alive. Rather than accepting her, however, as, a father might have, her father ordered her execution for simply being undead. And this set off a big chain of events with Lilian because, upon escaping from her prison cell, she became this wraith-like warrior ghost rogue who was dedicated to not only killing Scarlet Crusaders, but the Scourge as well. Overall, Lilian is a character that I can't wait to see develop more in the future. She has this weird violet fire magic she can do, and overall she's just really cool. And a little creepy. I like it. Number 4. DRANOSH SAURFANG. DRANOSH is the son of VAROK SAURFANG, the SAURFANG to many players, and he has quite a moment of heroism in the events of Wrath of the Lich King. DRANOSH was an orc born on Draenor whose father hid him away in order to protect him from the warlocks in the Horde. Now in Burning Crusade we find him in Nagrand seeking out his destiny, which he ultimately does find in the next expansion. Saurfang the Elder becomes an advisor to Garrosh Hellscream in the Borean Tundra, and his son, Dranosh, helps lead the attack on Angrathar the Wrathgate in Dragonblight. It's here that we get to see Dranosh's heroism firsthand, although if only for a moment. Like many orcs before him, he's headstrong and a bit impatient, leading him to try to take on the Lich King 1 versus 1, which ultimately leads to his death. Some may have seen it as a suicide attempt or just kind of a dumb thing to do, but after witnessing the horrors of the Lich King, I think it was just passion to end the war that fueled Dranosh's actions. Later on, his body is recovered by the Scourge, and the Lich King raises him as his most powerful Death Knight, Deathbringer SAURFANG. Players fight him in Icecrown Citadel and ultimately kill him, and VAROK, seeing the dead body of his son, takes him to be buried in Nagrand alongside his ancestors. Dranosh's appearance may have been brief in Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, but he definitely had a presence to him, and the event in ICC where you get to see SAURFANG holding the body of his son still lingers with many players today.
Number 3. MEDIVH, the Prophet. MEDIVH is a many-faced character who is responsible for almost dooming the entire world, but then is also responsible for saving it. So, is he a hero? A villain? Well, maybe he's a bit of both, sort of, but we gotta give him credit for trying. You see, MEDIVH was the son of Aegwynn, the guardian of Tirisfal, who unknowingly transferred the essence of Sargeras into her son upon giving birth to him. As he grew up, he suffered nightmares, fits, and he even fell into a coma for a number of years. When he awoke, MEDIVH's mind was twisted by the demon hiding inside of him, leading MEDIVH to ultimately open the dark portal for the Horde to invade Azeroth. In the end, he was killed by his friends when his treachery was revealed, but his story didn't end there. You see, MEDIVH might have been the one who opened up the way for the kingdoms to be destroyed by the orcs, but upon returning to life with the aid of his mother, he was determined to save the world instead. With Sargeras gone from within him, MEDIVH, now the Prophet, began to send out his warning that the world was in danger. The Legion was going to come again and set the world to the flame. Even though he unwillingly had committed evil deeds in the past, without MEDIVH, the armies of Azeroth would have never gone west to Kalimdor, Archimonde would have never been stopped, and our world would have been destroyed. So for those reasons, I see MEDIVH as an unsung hero who deserves a lot more praise for being the one who seriously saved us all, despite all that happened to him and all that he went through. Number 2. DARION MOGRAINE. DARION MOGRAINE is the High Lord of the Ebon Blade, and was the previous wielder of the Ashbringer before Tirion Forgering. In life, he was a member of the Argent Dawn. He attacked the floating citadel of Naxxramas. He claimed the Ashbringer for himself. He was betrayed by his brother Reynault, and he even took his own life in an attempt to save Light's Hope Chapel from the Scourge, leading to his resurrection by Kel'Thuzad himself. Darion led the Scourge armies of Akaris early in the timeline of Wrath of the Lich King, but when him and his fellow Death Knights were betrayed by the Lich King, Darion turned on his master and directed his attacks towards him instead. Although he was no match for Arthas, Darion was able to toss the Ashbringer to Tirion in the last second, who purified it and, later on in the expansion, was able to shatter Frostmourne with it. I always thought that Darion was a cool character story-wise because he's extremely selfless in his life, and even in death this trait carried on with him. Even though as a Death Knight he's become a lot more bitter and grim, he still loves his father deeply, and that was one of his biggest motivations to see him freed by Frostmourne. Darion's story is one of self-sacrifice, determination, family, love, and, well, heroism. So for that, he's one of my favorite heroes in Warcraft, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him in the future. Number 1. Crusader Bridenbrad. For those of you that played during Wrath of the Lich King, this might be a familiar name for you. If not, let me explain who he is. Crusader Bridenbrad was a paladin in the Argent Crusade who was involved in many battles against the Scourge and Icecrown. In Icecrown, during one such battle, he pulled dozens of men to safety at the risk of his own life, and although he wasn't killed, he did contract the plague of undeath that would slowly take his life. You as a player are sent by Tirion Forgering to try and find a way to cure Bridenbrad of his illness. You speak to Keeper Remulos in Moonglade, Alexstrasza, and even Adal in Shattrath. However, you quickly realize that no magic will save the life of the Crusader. However, Adal does bless Bridenbrad's soul with the power of the Naru, promising him an eternal paradise in death. You as a player return to Bridenbrad, and you are with him in his last moments of his life, all before he passes away right in front of you, saved from an eternal fate of servitude within the Scourge. This is a quest that I know a lot of people are aware of because there's Well, there's actually a lot more to this questline than just running around inside of World of Warcraft. Robert Breidenbecker is Blizzard's Vice President of Online Technology, who unfortunately lost his brother Bradford in the year 2007 to cancer. After his brother's death, Robert requested a memorial be put into World of Warcraft in his honor, and Blizzard, having been friends with the man, decided to create this entire epic quest chain to immortalize him. If you ask me, that's pretty heroic. Not just the lore heroism of Crusader Bridenbrad, but also for Blizzard for taking the time to remember one of their fallen heroes. So good on you guys. Good on you. And that's it, guys. We're done. It was a long list, but you made it. Now, I admit when I was making this list, it was a bit difficult to narrow down the choices because there's just so many unsung heroes in Warcraft. Now, if there's anybody that maybe I didn't mention that you're aware of from a questline or something that you want to talk about or maybe make light of, feel free to leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to check out my Machinima videos, check out my Machinima videos. Blah, 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 blah. Like, comment, favorite, subscribe, all that crap. You've heard it a million times. All right, we're done.